This is reading practice from a book called You Can Trust the Communists to Be Communist by Dr. Fred C. Schwarz, Chapter 1. Continuing. Again, this is reading practice. And we're going to begin at righteousness. And it begins. Righteousness. The communists demand and develop character of righteousness. That is, Marxist-Leninist righteousness. In the book How to Be a Good Communist by Shao Qi, president of Communist China and brilliant theoretical writer, says, but if sacrifice has to be made for the party, for class and national liberation, that is, for the emancipation of mankind, for social evolution, and for the interests of the greatest majority of mankind, embracing countless millions of people, countless Communist Party members will face death with equanimity and make any sacrifice without the slightest hesitation. To the majority of Communist Party members, it will be accepted as a matter of course to lay down one's life for a noble cause, or to die for righteousness if necessary. What is this righteousness for which they are ready to die? Righteousness is conduct which will advance communist world conquest. According to this definition, Joseph Stalin was the very personification of Marxist-Leninist righteousness. The many who believe that Khrushchev attacked and condemned Stalin missed the point of his speech entirely. Khrushchev did two things. He described Stalin and he condemned him. His description depicted a man so vile that most folks took it for condemnation. What he said in effect was this: Stalin was a murderer. He was not a reluctant murderer, but an enthusiastic murderer. He enjoyed murder. He got a thrill out of the torture of his own friends. When the Jewish doctors were arrested and accused of poisoning Zhdanov, Stalin called in the man responsible for examining them and indicated the type of torture to be given to each one. He gave three fundamental rules for getting confessions: beat, beat, and beat again. He said, if you don't get a confession by this date, we will shorten you by a head. Khrushchev indicated that Stalin was a stark, raving madman. When you went in to see him in the morning, he would look at you and say, what have you been up to? You have a shifty look in your eye today. You never know whether you would leave as his friend or under armed guard to be shot. He presents a picture of a murderer of limitless appetite, a picture of a megalomaniacal, sadistic madness. But he concludes by saying, Don't misunderstand me. Stalin was a good man. He was a Marxist-Leninist. He did these things as a Marxist-Leninist. No higher praise could have been given by Khrushchev. How could he justify both description and designation? Let us project ourselves into the stream of history and look at Stalin in historic perspective. Stalin assumed power when the communists were a beleaguered garrison, and he brought them to the verge of world conquest. It was Stalin who set up their educational program, which today is graduating 3 times as many engineers and scientists as the American program. It was Stalin who became the patron of scientific research. It was Stalin who established their submarine and missile programs, which have caused the shadow of impending death to fall over the life of every person in the free world. It was Stalin who organized the conquest of China. It was Stalin who deceived American and free world statesmen. Stalin brought communism to the very verge of world conquest. A few generations hence, when communism has conquered the world and regenerate mankind lives in perfect happiness and complete abundance, the name of Stalin, who did so much to bring this to pass, will be honored and revered. His personal idiosyncrasies will be ignored and forgotten. Dead men do not complain. Who worries about last year's fallen leaves? Stalin is the superb exemplar of the Marxist-Leninist righteousness.